I think we are live. As always, I'm going to wait for some response in the chat, and then we will get this show started. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I haven't seen anything yet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Knights of Honor 2 DevStream number 18. Oh, there we go. Depot Park is helping me out. Woot. Woot indeed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign DevStream number 18. We are excited to be back. Thank you for the extra little bit of wait. We took an extra week because we needed a little more time getting that awesome Espionage DevDiary put together. But I think we're going to have a good show today to talk about it. And yeah, it's going to be a good time here. I have Alex joining me. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Hi, Brad. I'm great. It's a lovely stormy day here, so it's the perfect time for streaming. Nothing better to do.
Yeah, when we were getting ready, Alex's face was slowly getting darker as the prep went on because the lights in his location were dimming because of the storm. So hopefully you don't lose power or anything. Then I'll have to entertain everybody by myself.
Yeah, hopefully. At least Giorgio will just replace me, I guess, if something happens on emergency. So, well.
So that's a good comment, actually. I always call him Georgie, but do you guys call him Gogo or Georgie? Like, what should I call him?
We usually call him Gogo, but there's a lot of variations for his name. He could be called Joro, and mainly he's Georgi. That's the name you call him. But Georgie is too cool, so we just decided to go with that.
I see. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I see a lot of the good old normal customers sitting in chat. We have Niners Gaming, BC Knight. It's great to see everybody today. And we are talking about espionage today. Actually, I saw a lot of fun comments. Oh, by the way, speak English, please, because I don't know what some of that stuff means. We saw a lot of fun comments that liked the new style. I'm gonna say when Alex is the one who wrote this dev diary mostly, and when he sent me the first draft to start doing edits, he's like, I'm not sure if we're gonna want to add all this personality stuff in there. I'm like, I think everyone's gonna like the flavor, and it seems like it went over quite well. People really enjoyed it.
Hopefully they did.
I saw the comments. People liked it. It was fun.
Yeah. I also read the comments. They were very interesting, and there were very interesting concerns and so on. The people really already try to imagine how that will work in multiplayer games and so on. So that's great. And yeah, we'll hopefully we can address more of the questions after the stream because they're very interesting ones.
I think most people were concerned if we had maybe lost our sanity a little bit with all of the weird under torture of death will we give up our secrets and blah 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 comments. Those were quite fun. You were having fun with that, I think.
Yeah. What was probably the best part is that I even got you with that one. When you asked me whether this is serious or not. It's.
Yeah, you had that little section on the bottom when Alex. I'm like, is that supposed to be in the diary or is that supposed to just be for me? I can't tell. I think, but I guess it was for everybody, so that's fine.
Yeah, a bit more thematic dev diaries for such a cool features like espionage. I will try to do this more often. It's fun.
So you're gonna raise the bar. Everyone's gonna have a certain expectation of how fun and integrated your the diaries are going to be from now on.
It's okay because the finish line is nearby, so we will keep up with the pace.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into our dev diary today. So, as everyone knows that have read it, we're talking about espionage. But if you haven't, we encourage you to join the community at community.knightsofhonor.com. And it's a great place to go and get connected. A lot of good commentary on this diary, actually some really nice detailed questions. But there you can read our dev diaries. We release them usually a couple days before the stream. And as you see with my big handy dandy stack of paper, well, actually you can't see it because the program is making it disappear. We always answer questions from the diary during the stream, as well as, of course, your questions during the stream. But the diary questions always get read out here. So I have a nice stack of them, and we'll be going through them a little bit later. So espionage. So to start, there are some really big differences between. Yeah, everyone's asking for game. We showed gameplay last week. We can't give it to you every single week, but I do think we may try to show gameplay in the next stream or two again. So we will be showing more frequently. You went like a year without gameplay. You just got one last week. See, they always want more, Alex. It's like you give them one drip and they just like want the faucet turned on.
Yeah, but yeah. When it started, we have to continue. So I think that we can show some at least some small parts in the next stream, or maybe even bigger. But yeah, let's not promise it with 100% certainty, but we will try.
Yes. Maybe our producer Alex in the background will flash some of the gameplay from the last diary up, just so you guys can see it. So, but we will show you more gameplay soon. It's not going to be as long as the last Delta, so you'll get some. So anyway, sorry. On espionage, we had some really cool differences between how we did espionage in the first Knights of Honor and how we're doing it now. So what do you think? Maybe you can walk through. I know we talked about this in the diary, but we walk through people. What are the big differences between the first one and the second one?
Yeah. So to start off with the reason for that that changes, I just want to mention that we really loved and liked the first system, the system of the first game, in which you have to send your spy and then wait the other kingdom to hire a new court member, and then the court member turns out to be your spy. So he actually impersonates a character in the court, royal court of the other kingdom, but we couldn't keep that that feature in the same manner we did it in the first game, because this is just a different game, and most importantly, it's a multiplayer game, and things that work in single player do not work in multiplayer well. So we had tons of iterations over espionage. Actually, we're still considering not very few changes, so we're still improving that feature, and we'll continue to do so when we are in beta and so on. We can get more actual multiplayer games. So in the new, this is the biggest difference in the new game. You do not try to impersonate actually a member of the royal court of the other kingdom, but instead there is some stuff you can do when you infiltrate the enemy kingdom, but there's a lot you can do when you start getting puppets there, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the changes, at least from my humble personal opinion, I actually like the new way that it works a lot better. I always felt, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the original Knights of Honor, but it always gave you this sense that you were worried one of your royal court members were always a spy. You always were just kind of like, I don't know if the guys are my guys or not. Like you had that kind of hesitation, and now it's a little bit different. So I think that helps. I think a lot in making the system feel a little less obtrusive all the time. Like you're always paranoid that there's a famous story from Knights of Honor 1 where your entire court turns coats at the same moment. And you're like, oh my God, there goes my entire court. That really can't happen anymore exactly in the same way. There's other things that can happen which are equally as potentially devastating, but just don't feel as painful, I guess is the right way to put it.
Yeah, it's a bit more mild, so to say. There are some major things that can be done with the spies, but for example, the more you try to do to an enemy kingdom, the more you have to pay. The upkeeps are getting extremely huge, so you cannot control the whole court of the enemy kingdom. That's one of the reasons, and of course the progression towards such states are very risky, because each time you try to get more influence, there is a risk for you to get caught and so on. So yeah, it's a bit more not so crazy.
Yeah. So I feel like the another thing that's kind of nice about this is that it really does integrate well with at least the approach that we're taking, it really does integrate well with how the other classes that we've talked about work. You know, like we had a whole DevDiary and DevStream a while ago about the diplomat and how diplomat actions work and how they kind of go to a kingdom and are deployed there, and then different opportunities come up. And I feel like unifying some of those mechanics, not unifying them since they're the same, but unifying so they feel similar, kind of helps the approachability a little bit for each of these things. And espionage is really benefits from that.
Yeah, it's true. We are trying to make the game easier to learn and play by making such similarities, and making the classes very different, but due to the results of their actions, and not due to how you use them.
Yeah, definitely.
It also helps because it's very clear that if you want to defend yourself from someone, you get a diplomat, try to improve relations, negotiate peace, and so on. You cannot do anything in that direction using a spy, and vice versa. Initially, we had some diplomat actions that were they were in diplomatic relation, but offensive diplomacy, so to say. And we removed that. Everything in that direction we've put to the spy one way or another. And it's very clear now what you have to use to achieve your goals.
Yeah, and I love how Kings of Honor, which I think is isn't that Ivory Knight? I think it is. Kings of Honor is already claiming how cool he is that he saw the footage and he's calling it old footage. Dude, that was only like one stream ago, man. It ain't that old. So I think Toko Hungary is completely valid in being hyped about the awesome footage that we have. And appreciate your comments, Tampsy, about hopefully being the best game ever. We'll see. We want it to be a great game, that's for sure. So
we're okay with the second best.
Yeah, the second best. So so let's talk about so right now the way that works is it you know, you deploy a spy, you send a spy to a kingdom, and then once they get there, a couple things happen pretty much right away. So what happens when a spy reaches a kingdom?
When you try to infiltrate a kingdom, upon success, you immediately gain vision.
Hold on. I gotta cut you off. So Beldroth believes that in one of those pictures, Ivory Knight is actually in them, in that illustration. I don't think he's in that. I know we like did a thing with one of the guys where we added him into one of the portraits. Is Ivory Knight actually in one of those? I don't think so. Is he?
I don't think so either.
Yeah, he just has a very he has a very medieval looking face, and so that's why he just, you know, he's the typical. If you were walking around medieval times, you'd be like, oh, there's Ivory Knight. We know who he is.
It's not impossible because our artists like to surprise us like this. We were just playing the game, checking out the new artwork, and we're seeing a portrait. Isn't that a part of the team or a famous actor or something like this? It happens from time to time. So it could be the partly helped with the system that slightly randomizes the things, but I don't know. It could be.
I mean, everyone looks like someone if you go too far down the rabbit hole. I mean, that's just
There's
so many faces, right? All right, sorry. I liked the commentary between Niners, Beldroth, and Ivory. I had to chime in on that one. So, talking about your espionage action starts. You deploy your spy to a kingdom. Then what happens?
Then you get a vision, a partial vision in the kingdom of the enemy, which helps you see the armies he has on the move. You don't see the stationed armies in towns; they remain hidden for you. But if his armies are on the move, then you can see them, and also you have some actions that are instantly available. Okay. And probably the major one being ruining relations of that kingdom with another kingdom. You start getting rumors from that kingdom. This is something you cannot control. It's a system that does not depend on the player, but the spy just tells you everything he can find out. And these are all kinds of things. There are really some just flavorful ones, but there's valuable information. For example, if that kingdom is planning to attack you or somebody else, or has some problems, internal problems, you can make an use from, and so on. So some of the rumors are very useful.
Okay.
And the next thing that happens is that you start to get opportunities. And they're a big topic. I'm not sure whether to start explaining them at this point, but in general, these are all kinds of actions that you do not have available permanently and don't get available initially. But if certain circumstances come into play, then you can do them. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's and Graf Lauden, I think I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong, like I always do, like I'm famous for. There's not really, it's not the same kind of action count like you may are conceptualizing from the original Knights of Honor. Now there's dynamic opportunities that come up based on a number of factors, like we're about to talk about that, who is bribed, what skills you have, what traditions you have, what the circumstance is in that kingdom that you've infiltrated. So it really is more of a dynamic system where things become available to you based on a number of different parameters, which is kind of cool. But let's just for the moment, let's stay focused on that initial advantage of having your spy in the kingdom is gaining that intel, like both getting that visibility of the armies on the move, as well as getting insights and maybe these kind of like peeks under the cover, so to speak, about what's going on in that that kingdom. One of the more valuable ones, in my opinion, is like being able to know if maybe there's a defensive pact or an offensive pact against you that you can't tell about yet, and your spy can sometimes uncover that and let you know. And you're like, oh gosh, I didn't even know these people were rallying against me, and now you get that extra bit of information which can help you. So it's there is a little bit of a passive benefit when you get that spy deployed to someone that you're kind of concerned with, to just figure out what's going on there and getting that kind of visibility.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge benefit, and I know that players feel that way because they compare it to, for example, if you have a full vision in StarCraft, well, you've won. It's certain, but it's not exactly like this. There's a lot of things that are hidden in the towns. What the kingdom actually develops right now, upgrades, builds, and so on. You don't see it, and yeah, army positioning sometimes is it's very important, but usually when you play multiplayer, we usually start with 2 or 4 provinces. You pretty much know where the enemy army is, and yeah, it helps if you can get a glimpse what exactly he has in one marshal right now.
You say that, but I remember one multiplayer game I played against you guys where I think 2 of you teamed up on me and snuck armies across the other side of the planet, so I didn't know where they were coming from. So I don't know if I completely buy that. Knowing the armies on the move can be quite devastating to a particular senior producer who may have gotten caught unawares by people trying to backstab me.
Yeah, true. But we are debating, and we have some mechanics that you can capture spies right now. One of them, one of the major ones, is witch hunt. This is just a name we use. It's work in progress. The mechanics implemented though, and well, when you activate this, you have quite higher chances to actually capture the enemy spy. And if you capture him, well, he can get killed or imprisoned directly. Which can be huge, especially if it's a high-level spy, or if he's the king of the enemy kingdom. You can use him for ransoming and so on. It's a big deal to get a character.
Poor Georgie, watching Georgie in the background be like, "Man, that was mine to talk about. I thought you were talking about bribe." He's like, "That was on my list." So now I'm gonna have to trade you and Georgie a spy action. You robbed him of one of the good ones.
Well, bribe is different. This is just ransoming a prisoner, so
Yeah.
Right.
Campsy LP, I should say, it seems like you're new to the community, so welcome. But yes, if you did not know, we are definitely going to have multiplayer in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, and you'll be able to play with you and a collection of friends. We haven't announced how many yet, but it's going to be more than two. It's not just you and one person. So you'll be able to gather a group of friends together and play the full world map metagame experience of Knights of Honor. We're really excited about that. It's a lot of work. It's taken a long time to get the different design implications of that in place and digested, and we're still very much working on it. But absolutely, you'll be able to play with a group of your friends in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. So that's exciting. No, let's go ahead. And by the way, Tampsy, if you haven't plugged in, there is an entire wealth of knowledge on our community site, community.knightsofhonor.com. And you can go and read all of our previous dev diaries. You can watch some of our dev streams on YouTube, the VODs. And there's a lot of knowledge. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff on the game so far. I think we're on number 18 now. So there's 17, 18 worth of diaries to digest if you want to really dig into the aspects of Knights of Honor, even see how some of the features have evolved over the last bit of time. So there's been a lot of design changes and evolutions as the journey has continued with you, our community. So I hope you have a chance to dive in and read some of that. So before I bring Georgie on, so he can, and before you steal more of his thunder, let's talk a little bit about the bribery. So one of the big actions that you can take is attempting to bribe a royal court member from the person that you've infiltrated.
Yeah, bribery is the action that opens the gates to 80% of what you can do with the spy afterwards. So you start with bribing is an opportunity. You cannot just try to bribe any member of the enemy royal court. You don't see the enemy royal court. So you get opportunity, for example, to bribe a specific merchant or a specific marshal and so on. And if you are successful, this is it's not so easy to do it, and it's risky. There is a reveal chance if the enemy does not want to be bribed, you can get captured. But if your spy is good, usually you can bribe one or two or three characters. And that costs you upkeep all the time. So it's very costly. People must consider the spy something like the Dark Templars. Yes, they are very strong, but you cannot afford them very early game. So you have to get your economy up and running to support a good espionage and probably get some traditions that will boost your spy effort, because it's hard without them. So it's more of a mid to late game functionality mainly. And then bribing them, for each character that you have bribed, you start receiving opportunities. I will not mention the particular ones. Probably will share some of the most interesting, but you get opportunities that depend on the class of the knight you bribed. What he's doing at the moment. For example, he can be defending a castle, or he can be leading an army, or he can be trading somewhere, and so on. And he can be a governor of a town, which gives you additional possibilities. You cannot bribe the king though, but it's possible that your puppet becomes a king. So you can have bribed kings, popes, and so on. Every different character provides several opportunities that can arise. So it's huge. It's pretty huge.
Yeah, I think one of the stories that I heard recently from an associate that was playing the game, he had mentioned a comment where this surprised him. He didn't even know this was in the game, but he had bribed, I think it was a cleric or a merchant that was governing a town of a kingdom he was at war with, and then he went to go siege that town, and when the siege started, the bribed merchant opened the gates and let his army in without having to fight the siege. And so it was just like really cool. We're thinking like, whoa, really? Like you're just gonna let me in here? So he basically had a free province without having to actually go to fight that province's defenders, because he happened to be bribing the governor of that province, and the governor just let him in. So there's a lot of like immersive moments like that can just come up. Like The other one I think was the merchant bribe that allows you to run away with a portion of the treasury, which is a super risky espionage action. But if it happens and it works, then you get a giant infusion of gold that's taken from the province that you're infiltrating. So some really powerful, very risky if you try to pull them off.
Yeah, and it works best if you combine it with some other features. For example, like you said, you can just try to get the governor, which is governor of the town you want to get, and try to weaken his other armies meanwhile. And for the treasury, well, it's perfect to try to do that when you get a rumor that these guys are getting pretty rich. So if you get some intel on their gold amounts, you can wait for the right moment, because even if you get the opportunity in another moment, well, you can steal 400 gold. Well, it's not worth it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's also tough because it's whenever I find myself wanting to do some of the more risky actions, you really do have to kind of orient your kingdom towards those kind of activities. You can't just sometimes you can get a lucky dice roll, but most of the time it's way too risky to just try to do one of those big spy actions without a tradition or a really heavily leveled up espionage or spy, because there's a lot of factors involved in your success or fail rate, including your kingdom power, the other kingdom's power, the class of your king, the class of the other kingdom's king, your traditionally all these factors. So you got to kind of okay, if I'm going to try to pull this thing off, then I better have gotten the skills and the traditions and the stuff that I need in order to try to pull it off.
Yeah, that's the second reason that it's mid to late game thing, because you have to set it up. So that's why we decided to leave the vision bonus right now to the spy, because initially he's practically he takes one slot, he takes a wage, and besides that, it's very risky to try any powerful action. So he's mostly useful with only this one thing. So it's that's why we've let him have it for now.
Yep. Well, let's we're gonna say pause to Alex for a minute. We're gonna bring him back for Q&A at the end. So Alex, don't go anywhere. We'll have you right back. But we're gonna bring Georgie on, or Gogo, or whatever name he decides to go by, and we're gonna talk with him some about the different actions that you can do with the spy that are not necessarily bribery related, and that'll be fun. So I think you're on, Georgie. How are you?
All right, hello everyone. Great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. How goes the beard?
Pretty chill. No real differences. Even a bit shorter now, but good to have change.
Yeah, I think everyone on the stream is hoping that one day you come on the stream and your beard is like it's just gone to. You ever seen that episode of Family Guy where the little pigeon is living in Peter's beard?
Yeah.
Pull that off. Pull the Family Guy beard off.
Challenge accepted.
Oh man, I love how this has become its own little culture in our community. The Georgie beard followers. That's great. So we were talking about the spy today, and we've been talking a little bit with. You've been listening to the stream, so I'm not going to recant what wonderful Alex has said. But we really wanted to bring you on and discuss some of the other actions that the spy can take. And this synced up with a question that Templar Knight 633 just asked, which is can spies conduct any actions to spread heresy or undermine the population's social stability and cause revolting or lack of productivity? So there is some actions, right, where and I actually think we had an image on the DevDiary where you can actually incite revolt, so to speak, in a kingdom.
Yeah, definitely, and it's one of the things that was also available in the previous game. This time around, it's more focused on having a bribed marshal. So if you have a bribed, not only marshal, but a bribed character who is leading an army, because all characters can lead an army, and you can basically order them to organize a revolt. Which we've been playing around with so many options. If it's only the single person, or if he attracts other armies around him, there's a bunch of different success chances and whatnot. And also a little bit of small nuances, like it's a little bit more difficult to organize a revolt for a character who is a prince or a king, if you've managed to have him bribed, but it's easier for just a regular noble in court.
Yeah, I know. If you haven't read or the diary or watched the stream on how revolts and everything works, they're a lot more intricate in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. There's a lot more dynamics to it with a revolt leader, and revolts can grow.
Yeah.
So depending on how powerful I'm guessing your spy is and how big the opportunity is, you can start a pretty big revolt that could cause all sorts of challenges for the kingdom, especially if you're about to go to war with them and those things are all kind of stacking. It can be a lot of pressure really quick.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a really viable strategy if you really want to mess up the playing of the kingdom. So multiple times when we've been playing multiplayer, me and Alex, for example, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna weaken this kingdom, so your war is a bit easier. I'm gonna infiltrate him and kill
Okay.
off, like, make his marshals rebels, and then he's basically gonna beg for peace. So it's a really interesting aspect where you kind of talk with your teammates if you're in multiplayer. Even if you're not, it's always fun to make stuff like that.
Sure. Now, one of the espionage actions that is always talked about is the ability to assassinate somebody. And
Yeah.
we didn't talk about this much in the diary, but I mean, assassination attempts are still there, and some of them are tied to some really unique skills, right? Like I think there's the one around like the hunting accident. I think it is. That's one of the ones that's in there. If you have the archery skill for a spy, and this ties into a comment, and I'll read the questions later. But someone was asking in the Dev Diary questions. And if you haven't been, the Dev Diary is on our community site, community.knightsofhonor.com. And we always respond to the questions on the stream. This is evidence of that. Someone had made the question about if martial skills or other skills are available to spies. And actually, a lot of the skills are available to all the characters. So I mean, there's and if you have the archery skill for a spy, it opens up this potential opportunity that could pop up for a hunting accident for someone. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of different skills and traditions that have. To be honest, for killing enemies, enemy knights, there are a few different options. One of them is to have the assassination tradition, not only the skill but tradition as well,
Oh,
which
right, right,
enables
right.
you to go for the big thing and just assassinate the king or the queen. And there's also the other option of having a bribe noble who can be assassinated just because he was bribed. And then what you mentioned also for the hunting incident, if you have archery, those really different types of assassination attempts that have different effects depending on what skills you have, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like there was a thing that Alex mentioned before about how you can't bribe a king, but you could possibly bribe a prince.
Yeah,
So
he becomes the king.
if you had a prince bribed and then you had the assassination tradition, a whole bunch of skills, you could try to attempt an entire coup right there just by all those different things kind of lining up together. So there's a little bit of a strategy there.
Yeah, definitely long term playing. You guys also mentioned the Pope playing around some plots for that as well. So
Oh, right, right.
if you have a cleric, for example, he might become the Pope. So all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I have so much power in my
Yep.
hands.
Yeah, the fun thing that I always find myself wanting to use spies for, and I think I've actually told this story in a previous stream a number of months ago. Like the whole jailbreak concept, where if you get people captured or a spy captured and you're trying to free him, the jailbreak thing can be real. And there's different types of jailbreaks, if I remember correctly, right? Like there's
Yeah,
different skills can open up different opportunities there.
yeah. So jailbreak as a spy thing. So there's leadership as a skill, which gives you an option to organize a riot if you are captured, if the character is captured. But if you have a spy in a certain kingdom where you have knights captured, he can always perform that plot jailbreak action, no matter what skill he has. And it's sometimes it's really useful to kind of play reactively with the spy. So if you're having troubles in war and you're getting captured, all of a sudden you might want to send your spy. Of course, in that time, the other kingdom might know that you're doing some stuff, and they might activate the witch hunt action that Alex mentioned. There's also some shields, for example, if you infiltrate the kingdom and you get caught or captured and you manage to escape, then going back to that kingdom isn't really an easy thing, and you're probably going to get captured again. So it's not really
Yeah,
easy,
that was
but it's
actually
doable.
I ran into. I think I told that story before. I had this whole like scenario of disaster that took place where like I was at a war with someone, one of my marshals got captured. I sent one spy that I leveled up pretty highly to try to free him. He
Yeah.
failed at freeing him, and instead got captured himself. He jailbroke out, which was
Yeah.
great. Yes. Then I sent him back to go try again. And as soon as he landed in the kingdom, they're like, dude, you literally just left. Like, we know who you are. They threw him back in jail a second time. And I'm like, oh, man, are you serious? That's a thing?
Mhm.
Like, they know the dude okay, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So then I had to get a second spy. So I wasn't going to pay ransom for two of these guys. So I got a second spy, leveled him all the way up, and then sent that spy to that kingdom. They didn't know who he was, so he was able to get there. He attempted to do the jailbreak and failed. He got thrown in jail. So now there's three of these guys in jail, my marshal and these two spies. However, unbeknownst to me, the third spy had a skill, and I don't remember which one it was, but he had a skill that allowed you to incite not a mob, a riot. He could incite a riot in the jail. And I'm like, incite riot? I mean, that sounds good. And so my third spy incited a riot, and all three of them got out. And I'm like, hey, that took like an hour and a half and all this like skill points and books and everything to pull off. But I got my marshal back, I got my big spy back, and I got my little spy back, all from just this one riot. But these are just like these different sequences of events and like dynamic moments that were taking place as I was learning the different experiences and skills and everything. I know I've told this story before, but it's a really good example of how some of these immersive moments can come out from the espionage play. And we've added,
Definitely.
my understanding, a lot more of them recently.
And it really shows how high risk, high reward the whole situation is with the spy. I mean, obviously, you might want to make basic stuff, as Alex mentioned to you earlier, for rumors and ruining relationships and stuff like that. But pretty much all actions you perform are not something you might be able to do very easily if you have a spy with like one or two levels with no level. One or two skills weren't with no levels on them, and using a spy that has a level 15 spy is devastating. I mean, it all works nice until you use it, and then you start to reconsider your strategy and think about it.
Which is where the high risk, high reward thing comes from. I mean, spies are some almost like super weapons to a certain degree. Not all of their actions. There are other actions that aren't that way.
Yeah.
There are some of the more powerful things they can do. They really are designed to be used when you've invested a lot of effort into building that spy up, and you're ready to take that high risk, high reward action at a very critical moment for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot about planning. If you want to bribe a prince who becomes the king, and you want to maybe perform some annexations, because there's also a possibility to do that. I mean, you got to play for like a solid 1, 2, 3 hours, depending like what you do and how fast you play. You don't really have an opportunity to do more in-depth spy plots just straight out. I mean, those opportunities won't come up. You got to do some preparation, and those kinds of things, I guess, come to you as you play the game, and you make different playthroughs and kind of stumble on different occasions of interesting events that might happen.
Absolutely. So let's grab one more action that the spies can take that is not related to bribery. And I think the one that I would like to maybe talk about a little bit is when you can actually damage relationships between a kingdom and another kingdom through a spy's actions.
Yeah, definitely. Damaging relationships is one of the main things you can do in the beginning, and most often you would want to use it. Well, depends on your playstyle again, but you might want to use it if you want them to declare war on you, because you would not suffer a lot of consequences, and you might also have a defensive pact waiting to be activated if they declare war on you.
Interesting. So almost like trapping them into the war on their side so that your defensive pact that you're using with your diplomat is triggered. I hadn't thought about that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and of course, every time you gain messages over time, the basic way how the mechanic works is you gain messages from time to time, and it says we've decreased our relationship with something, and there's some cool flavor text. Each time you gain a message like that, it might backfire. He might get imprisoned or killed, just like any other spy opportunity. There's some being connection, so it can definitely backfire, but it's a little bit more easier to perform compared to the other spy bots.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at anything you said. I'm laughing at the Georgie fan club that's starting in chat right now. And now they're talking about all praising your beard. What is this? Please give me your fluffy yet rough blessing. And the best part is an Ivory Knight. You're going to make him blush, but he's like, 50 Shades of Georgie's Beard. That's the new. That may be like.
I'm gonna make merch the way this is starting and get some money out of this. Like,
Georgie's Beard, and then on the back it's like "Get your rough blessings here" or something. I don't know. That may be a little bit too far.
yeah,
Good lord,
maybe.
you know, I club developing here, Georgie.
Stuff like that happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I wanna say around the ruined relationships. There's also another interesting action, which is that you can provoke war between two kingdoms, which is a bit more direct. You might not want to wait. You might want to take your things into your hands, but it's definitely the more expensive and riskier thing, and it works for the targeted kingdom, the kingdom you've infiltrated, and works for other kingdoms which they have negative relationships with. So you can kind of bait out that opportunity if you ruin their relationship with someone, and then you get an opportunity to provoke the war directly if you don't want to wait.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really beneficial one if you have someone that you want to attack that you want to weaken first. So you have to deal with, like, if they're a stronger enemy and you want to try to get someone kind of softening their other front before you come in, that can really be helpful. I've done that a couple times in my games before. Cool. Well, I think unfortunately we're gonna have to say goodbye to you and your glorious beard for a moment, and obviously the VODs are gonna be up. So if people miss Georgie's beard, they can always catch them on YouTube or on the Twitch VODs a little bit later. But I'm sure we'll have you around for another dev stream soon, and we're gonna bring Alex back on. But say goodbye, everybody, Georgie.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye from me and my beard.
Yeah, and your beard, right? All right, Alex, I'm gonna wait till I see your. There you go. Your unmute is unmuted. Welcome back.
Yeah. It was great. I always envy that I cannot take part when Georgie is talking. It's an interesting combination between the ruin relations and provoke war, because it's another example that you have to set up the situation so that you get the provoke war opportunity. Because if they're not negative enough initially, you don't get that opportunity directly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, let's go into. We have about 15 minutes left, and we had actually quite a few questions on the. Oh my gosh, we're not creating. Never mind. I'm gonna stay away from the beard commentary that's going on in chat. It's hilarious, but we're talking about Knights of Honor, not Knights of Georgie's Beard. So let's go into the questions here. First off, I don't know if Yavor is on the channel. I didn't see him yet, but thank you for the positive comments on Biomutant. It's actually been a really exciting launch for THQ Nordic, and there's been a lot of positives. I have a couple associates that are playing it, and it seems like a really beautiful and immersive game. So appreciate those positive comments there. So we're going to go through a number of questions. Oh, by the way, I think I saw Niners Gaming on chat. Shopo from Niners Gaming. He called me Sir Bradley from the THQ Nordics. Appreciate that, but my name is actually Bradford, not Bradley. So I think you're talking about the wrong guy. But for Bradford, that works for me. Now we'll get into the serious questions. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. So Zerg, Ivory Knight, and Dovala Legend was talking about this. I'm going to read Zerg's question, but it's all about the same thing. So Zerg says, is there a way, and actually I think a lot of people talked about this in chat. I think Graf Flouden also mentioned it. So this is a very popular topic. It's is there a way to counter spy in general? Or is there a way to at least focus on the happiness, loyalty of some of your knights in order to make it harder for them to be bribed? To give an example, I have a spy in my court, and I would hate to get killed by him. How can I increase his loyalty towards me so that he won't stab a knife in my back as soon as I turn around? Now, this is I think I've actually asked this question too, and I think it's something we're still actively discussing. So how do you protect yourself from those kind of like high risk, high reward actions from either a human player or an AI player?
Yeah, this is really a hugely important question. So let's take our time on it. First of all, we don't want the most reactions to be something that you spam a lot, or we don't want to click and check every one of your characters or something like this. So the major way to save yourself from spy activity is prevention, which is keeping your keeping a high crown authority, maintaining the opinions of your people pretty high. This makes them harder and more expensive to bribe. Especially the loyalty of the nobles. The opinion of the nobles is very important there. Then it's important whether you have some proficient spies in your court, especially the king, but also different spies that are not royalties are also a good protection. They help against other spies. And there are a bunch of other things. Traditions are a major one. There are some traditions that help you capture and make everything more difficult for enemy spies. So these are the major ways to do it. Still, we are we have the action that I mentioned, the so-called witch hunt. It has a cost and it leads to some problems, especially if you do not capture spies. So you cannot just spam it like this just to make sure. You use things like opinion, crown authority, and so on. It's expensive to do. But if you think you have a spy, you can use it. There is a good chance that you can capture him. And yeah, we're still discussing other options for catching enemy spies, but it's a bit early to talk about them because they're on a concept level right now. And yeah, probably we can mention this in one or two dev blogs or streams from now on, dev diaries. I promise to update our audience on this topic whenever we have some major changes, because we'll have some.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in. We have somehow spun into German in the chat. Remember, guys, and I'm gonna chastise my friendly friend in the background who's smiling at me right now. But we got to keep the chat in English so everyone can understand. Yeah, so it's an English chat, please. Comments every once in a while is fine, but keep it in English. So yeah, I think the summary of it is there's lots of different ways that you can handle espionage, and we're still exploring other ones. I think the witch hunt action is a really cool one, but honestly, it really is about like there's traditions and skills and things that you can take that really do dramatically increase the failure chance of a spy action against you. And it's all about which build you decide to take. So there's a lot of different characters you can go with. So let's move on to the next question. We have a new guy who joined. I think he's new because he asked the question, or he said things in a way that made me think he's a new guy. So Rug Roll is a new guy of his community, and he first off is thanking us and is really excited about the Dev Diary. So he asked a question I think a number of people shared, which is about the spy vision. He said, I do have one question about spy's vision. You said immediately provide vision of the territory and armies. Is this literal in the sense that the day you place a spy into a kingdom, you can see everything? And he has a comment about how I personally think that spies would take some time to set up their spy network. So let's say after 6 months in game time, you can see the majority of the territories and armies, blah, blah, blah. So he's really just talking about the difference between having something be instant versus maybe adding some extra mechanics or factors in there that make that vision happen over time as you establish yourself. So right now it's instant, correct? That's how it works?
Yeah, once you've infiltrated, it's instant, but it takes time to infiltrate the kingdom. So probably the answer is somewhere in between. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
It's not you don't get it in the moment you click the action. There is a duration for infiltration, and this duration represents exactly that process of the spy establishing his dealings in the enemy kingdom. And you don't get full vision. You get very limited vision. You can right now see only few things, mainly the moving armies.
Yeah, so I think, the summary of it is there's actually two different, I don't want to call them timers, but there's two different delays. Like when you want to go and deploy a spy to a kingdom, that takes time. And then if you want to recall that spy and put them somewhere else, recalling the spy also takes time. So it's not like you can't just like pop a spy all around the world and check things. It takes time to actually get them there. If you want to move them somewhere else, you have to recall them, and that takes time. And then so there are like establishment timers built in, and it does take some actions in order to do that. And that's a very, again, good clarifying point.
There's also a cost to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, there's also a cost. Good point. So we got 10 minutes left. I'm going to read and yes, by the way, I'm taking questions from our community site, community.knightsofhonor.com. We always try to grab a number of questions from the forums at the end of the stream. I try to grab a number of questions during the stream as we go, so I try to be a little more dynamic with them. We're going to grab one or two more questions from the chat, or sorry, from the forums, and then we're going to move on. So to some chat questions. So let's see. Dova La Legend asked a few questions here. So one of them we answered. Will our spies have skills as marshals? Since in KOH they did not have them. The answer is yes. A lot of the skills are available to all the different classes, and they have different impacts there. We have primary and secondary skills. There's actually an entire DevDiary and DevStream that talks about that. I recommend going and checking it out. You'll learn quite a bit about that. Here we go. One question that he asked is, in order to find out where captured enemy spies come from, do we need to torture him? And if yes, do we lose crown power, or can we extract that information some other way? It's a good question.
Right now, in this version, because we are still streaming between the two versions, we still have the torture option. Right now, you know from where he is, but we are very split on that functionality. So if you had asked me that question 2 months ago, the answer would have been different, and 2 months in future, I'm not sure. So yeah, probably it might be needed to torture him, which is also risky because you can kill him. But we are not sure whether this will be part of the final version of the game.
Yep. One last question I'm going to answer from the forums before I go to stream questions. We have about 8 minutes left. So I think the name is pronounced Mensie, Mensie. Asked this question, which I thought was actually a really interesting one. I don't know if we would add that because it sounds complicated, but it's a really fun one. Says, when we discover an enemy spy, is the enemy kingdom immediately informed, or do we get some choice before that happens? I would like options to try to bribe him to switch sides or become a double agent before we lock him in the dungeon. That's a really interesting idea. I don't think we've talked, or we definitely don't have that in the game at all. That's kind of, do you have this chance to be like, hey, before I rat you out, you want to like come to our side, especially say if you have like a spy king or something?
Yeah, this is exactly in the Royal Dungeon section where we have to clear out some how some of the features will work. But yes, we have plans for you to be able to do several different things with the captured knight. So it's quite possible that you will be able to use the enemy spy against him.
I just think it's kind of neat to be able to, like, before the enemy spy is reported as captured, you can sit there and turn him and then send wrong information back. Like, you can do actions to be like, oh no, give them a rumor that's not true, like our people are about to revolt or whatever it may be. Like, again, it can be very complicated, but it'd be kind of fun. I get it.
Yeah. It sounds very fun. Well, the Royal Dungeon mechanics we had implemented, and that might remain, are well, the other kingdom always understands that their knight is captured, but it's a very awesome idea, I have to admit.
So let me grab a few questions from chat that we didn't grab earlier. A couple of them I think we've actually answered. So. Abusive Benefactor, by the way, that's a fun name. Abusive Benefactor. I think that guy's wants to be in the dungeon. He or she asks, can figureheads like kings and princes be spies? If so, would this make them more recognizable with a higher risk to be caught? So yes, kings, princes, they can both take the spy class. There's a little bit of like gaminess around the fact that your king is a spy, because obviously you'd expect that everyone would know who the king is, and then the king can still infiltrate. But there's a lot of benefits from using a king spy. They're really powerful. So yes, you can definitely have a king spy and do some really cool things with them.
We have debated a lot on this one as well. For me personally, it's a bit too fantasy, but I also started to like it. Right now, the king is your best spy because he has additional bonuses. He can level up quickly. And early on, he can be a very powerful spy. So, yeah. they can.
Yep. Niners Gaming asks, will you enable Twitch drops when the game gets released? And if so, a goat avatar would maybe be a nice feature for that. Not going to talk about if we're not going to do Twitch drops, but if we do, I think goat and or Georgie Beard options may be appropriate for this particular audience. That's a great. I like that. That's a fun idea. So I will keep that in mind. I know there are people on the team listening. Goat and Georgie Beard may be a thing. Another question. So, let's see here. Yeah. So, ENEXPI. I'm not going to try to pronounce what that is. NEXP. I don't know. Said, can a spy become a king like in the last Knights of Honor? I think we talked about that a little bit. Well, I guess I'm not sure the context of your question. Are you asking, can a bribed knight or prince become a king, or is it can your spy be the king class? Answers to both of those are yes. Plus, right? Like you can get a bribed prince to become the king, and then you're a bribed king, and you also can have the king have the spy class. So both of them are true.
Yeah.
So Baxter7 asked a question I think is a good one to answer as maybe the last one here. So one question, in Knights of Honor 1, nothing happened when I completely conquered the country my spy was being captured in. Will this change in the new game? So I think he's talking about if you have a spy that's in the jail of a country or a kingdom, and then you conquer that kingdom, do you get the jail people back?
Yeah, when you conquer completely a kingdom that has this is not a spy question but royal dungeon question. But when you conquer the kingdom, you get all your characters back immediately. Also, you get other prisoners that they held, and you can release them, or usually, especially the AI likes to release them if they are of someone they like. But yeah, you get all the prisoners.
Mm-hmm. I see Kermit the Frag joins at the very end. Man, you're running a little bit late today. You missed all the fun. We had a good time about Georgie's beer. We talked about Spies. It was great. You'll have to watch the VOD. And I saw a question about this earlier. I don't know if it's on the list. Oh, yeah. So ENEXPI asked this question, and then Tampsy LP just asked it too, about modding. And to be frank, we are doing a ton of support for modding. I think way more than even we did for Knights of Honor, the original game. We have a lot of really cool ways. And I'm not going to go into the technical aspects of it, but the way that the features have been set up, it's very data driven and very easy to add, remove, change things. So there's a lot of power in the modding tools that we're going to release. And I think me personally, I'm very excited to see all of the different ways that people mess with systems. And it's definitely not just things like changing values and tweaking parameters. You'll be able to add, for example, if you want to add entirely new espionage actions or opportunities, all of that's going to be very easier to do than you may expect. It's actually a really cool system. And if anyone is familiar with how definition systems work for games, it's based on a definitions type approach. And there's a lot that you can do there. So I think you're going to be very pleased if you're a modder at the amount of power you're going to have in your hands.
What's extremely easy is to set up the infiltration time for to 30 minutes, or to remove the vision the spy provides, or to change the cost or effect of, well, not the effects in functions, because we need code for that, but you can change the power of actions and so on, how big the risk is for the spy.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys will like it a lot. So I think that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed learning about espionage. We are out of the dungeon and up talking to you. I don't know what the next topic is of our next dev diary. I don't think we've released it publicly. Do you want to give everyone a tease and tell them? I think you do know. What's 19?
Well, it's almost written, and I think people will like it. It's about the multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
So it's an item that we've talked so much how this is something hugely important for us in development. So it's time to share with the audience.
Yeah, multiplayer is maybe. I'm not gonna promise anything. So if you guys try to hold it to me, I'm gonna call BS. But maybe we can get some Georgie versus Alex short multiplayer clips, and like a quick like time lapse of them beating each other up and seeing who wins. Maybe I'm not going to promise anything. But yeah, we'll talk about multiplayer in the next Dev Diary and Dev Stream. That's gonna be really exciting. I know so many people have been asking about it. We're actually probably gonna do multiple diaries and streams on multiplayer. It's a huge topic and it's been a massive investment for us. But we know that it's important, and we know that you guys are gonna really have fun playing against each other. We know that the dev team already does enjoy doing that, so it's a lot of fun.
The same team, but okay, we can try to see whose beard will get ripped apart.
Excellent. So tune in around 4 to 5 weeks for the multiplayer Dev Diary and Dev Stream. Again, community.knightsofhonor.com. We hope you join us. Start participating in the conversation. There's lots of fun threads already going, and we love to hear more chats. So we thank you all for joining us. Alex, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys, and see you next time.
Yep. And Georgie, I know you're in the background there, but thank you. Oh, look at that. You're in the foreground now. The beard is returned. Thank you very much for joining.
You got me unprepared there.
Yeah. Producer Alex, thank goodness you weren't like actually messing with your beard while you were off camera. It would have been pretty.
Yeah.
But for joining us, we will see you next time. Have a great week. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye, guys.